Yeah, thank you so much, Hans-Gert. Of course, I take you as an embodiment of the good Christian democratic tradition, which has always been very generous for other political directions and very open-minded to the world. So it was a great pleasure to sit next to you and next to Pat Cox, our two outstanding Parliament presidents later. So now I see that there is an unprecedented interest in the forthcoming European elections. You may have other views on this, but I sense that the European Parliament has gradually, step by step, shown that it is a serious co-legislator affecting 500 million people's lives. I don't know how many we will lose with Brexit, but that's a tragedy in its own for most of us indeed. Also the Parliament has become gradually a kind of a main political platform for major debates. When the Greek crisis was at its deepest, Prime Minister Tsipras was here, and the Council President, European Council President was there, the Commission President, the Parliament, and there was the first open exchange, which was not behind closed doors on the Greek crisis. So I believe that what we have seen now, that the prime ministers of our member states are one by one coming to speak to the parliamentarians. The latest one was the Danish prime minister yesterday, but quite important also was that we had a chance to hear Angela Merkel, who became president of your party at the time when you were here, Hans-Gert. I remember very well that moment of change in your party. But there's also the feeling that the European Union, nevertheless, is a bright star in the world of nationalism and populism. Of course, we are affected by these, I would say, these plagues in a world where we need more transnational solutions and we need transnational democratic solutions. People must be taken on board of decision-making. And of course, the European Parliament is very aware of its role of kind of an intermediary between the European Union other institutions and the citizens. So I hope that, for instance, the citizens' initiative that was put in place by the Lisbon Treaty actually has opened some avenues for influence and for sort of collecting people's views and transmitting them to the Parliament and further to other institutions. However, we are aware that there were shortcomings, that people did not quite understand what was appropriate, what was the competence, what was the scope of this instrument. So it all has to be clarified, and I think it has quite a lot of work has been done to change the regulation. So the Parliament also is very much aware that it has to prove that it is an important institution for the citizens. And I think our communications and information departments are doing a great job there, together, indeed, mainly with the working group of the Bureau on Information and Communication. And you can take a look at some of the material that has been produced in a very clear language, avoiding the normal EU jargon. So, for instance, we want to show that it's important to vote because I want to protect my privacy as a citizen. And you know that the General Data Protection Regulation that the EU has now put in place, which is enforced since end of May this year, has been a major achievement, which I can see now is becoming a global benchmark. So by doing the right thing for the citizens, the European Union, the European Parliament can defend the rights of citizens everywhere. And I think this is the challenge now. We are in a union of 2027 soon, and we of course need to rely on the declaration of the British leadership to say that Britain wants to stay global, and I hope that Britain will stay as close to the EU as ever possible. We will still have to see what happens in the coming weeks and months, but it's an important partner in harnessing globalization, which is one of the key words that has been now brought to the debate, also by the European Commission. So we need to show that we matter for the people. We need to show, for instance, that we are inviting the citizens to use their right to live, to love, to learn and to work wherever they choose. So the EU is still the champion of the right of freedom of movement. But a word about populism and nationalism. Just at this very moment in the plenary of the Parliament elsewhere in these buildings, I understand that there is an ad hoc debate triggered by a very special challenge that we are now facing, that a number of member states are one by one announcing that they will withdraw from the commitment to a non-binding, non-legally binding agreement within the United Nations called Global Compact for Migration. And a foreign ministry official, not a politician, an official from my country, Finland, has said that there is a European-wide disinformation campaign going on this. So we are, of course, inside and outside, faced with forces that like to, let's say, play the songs of fear and threat. And, of course, migration, the refugee issues are a primary object of this kind of negative music. So I think this is a challenge that we have to understand because it's also in the detriment of what we now utter more and more often, the European values. By the way, since your time here in this House, I think we are hearing more and more often the words European values. Sometimes I wonder if we take it for real, if we mean it, but I guess we mean it, understanding that the EU is a kind of an island in the sea of should I say, autocratic regimes, countries, even partner countries in our neighborhood struggling with authoritarianism, having difficulties fighting corruption, money laundering, putting in place an independent judiciary. And as you know, we have these challenges in a number of member states. And something that we should understand better is why are our let's say the latest wave of enlargement countries from Central and Eastern Europe now so vulnerable to and why are they struggling so hard to show that they are a part of the European Union and the European values community. So the institutions are shaking. We hear from, let's say, a sister organization, which is a very important one to us, Council of Europe, that it's not anymore taken for granted that rule of law and democracy and respect of human rights are the guiding principles in the member countries of the Council of Europe. I'm very happy to say to our young students that it seems that there is indeed a kind of a generational change going on, and I'm aware that you had a debate during your dinner last night about generations with the leadership of introduction by Commissioner Moedas. What I see is that the younger generation now automatically understands that we have to preserve this planet and its people, and that it's a crucial moment when the EU has to increase its defense of sustainability. Even in EU trade policy, we see this. You know, trade used to be trade, but that's not at all the case today. Our Commissioner for Trade, Cecilia Malmström, she declared in 2015 a program, a kind of a blueprint for trade policy called Trade for All. And it's wonderful because it brings to our world of trade the understanding that we can also carry our values with our trade instruments. The other day there was the annual trade policy day in the European Commission, and the 500 or so participants were electronically asked what they saw the next challenge, the biggest challenge of the next 5 years in the world of trade. Well, of course, multilateralism was there. there was the protectionism was there, but by far the biggest concern was sustainability. And I think this is our challenge. And I truly believe that the European Parliament and you as important former members of this institution, with the civil society, even with businesses who want to make this planet a better place, we can do this work together so that we can rescue the dignity and that we can save the planet, we can respect the planetary boundaries while defending the European way of life. We can do many things in a more smart way. We need innovations, we need technology, we need more engagement, we need more global responsibility. These are positive challenges, and I hope that in the European elections, these are the messages that we are able to transfer to the citizens and have a real debate on these things. So thank you very much for inviting me. It's great to see so many former colleagues here. I'm also a former member, as you know. So thank you so much.